And good morning and welcome to the Back Nine Boys Golf Show. If you love golf, this is the place to be. The Back Nine Boys Golf Show is brought to you by Bridgestone Golf, play the ball that fits your swing, by Sea Palms Resort, featuring the Miracle Practice Facility for your short game, by Mizuno Golf, reach beyond, and by RSM, proud sponsor of the RSM Classic, giving back right here in our community. On the show, we're going to talk with former Golf Digest writer Ron Syrak about the incredible win at the U.S. Open Women's Senior Championship by Annika and his take on the women right now playing in the Olympics. Then we'll talk with Frank Carroll, whose new long tees that has a spring in it. He'll tell you about that. And it helps you to hit your drives farther, teaches you to hit up on the ball, and plus he will tell us why his tees go 4 yards farther. And then finally, we'll talk about the mental aspects of the game. We all suffer from that from time to time, with Robert Price of Elite Minds out of Savannah. But first up is Ron Syrak, who has covered the LPGA for years. Good morning, Ron, and welcome to the Back Nine Boys Golf Show.
Hey, thanks for having me on. Good morning to you.
I appreciate you being on prior to your tee time. That makes it very special for both of us. Thank you.
Always a pleasure.
All right. Ron, you've covered the LPGA for years. How special was this win for Annika at the Women's Senior Open?
Yeah, she went into that tournament, and there were a lot of people saying, "Oh, of course Annika's going to win this." So she was playing with that enormous burden of expectation, and she has not been in this situation for 13 years.
Yeah.
I went to the range on Tuesday, was watching her hit balls, and the first thing that crossed my mind is, holy moly, she's put in a lot of work. She really looks ready for this. But what I was curious about was the one thing you can't practice is competition.
Right.
Can't practice maintaining your focus under the gun. And she did that as well as she's ever done it. She hit 62 out of 72 greens and just played awesome golf from tee to green.
Well, there's one thing we all know about Annika, you know better than most, is that she will always go to whatever she's doing prepared.
Yeah, and when she decided to play in this tournament, I figured that she would get put the work in needed to be there prepared. And now with this win, she gets an exemption into next year's U.S. Women's Open at Pine Needles. It'll be interesting to see if she accepts that exemption, because if she does, once again, she's going to go in there prepared to play good golf. And in my mind, what that would mean is we might see her on some LPGA events next year as she tries to get her game in shape for the U.S. Women's Open.
Yeah, which would be fantastic. And I mean, coming back after a 13-year layoff, even though she's played some golf, but not as competitively as the Women's Senior Open. But after 13 years, her scores, her performance was just outstanding.
Yeah, and she's lost a little bit of distance off the tee, although she had picked up some distance between February when I saw her play and now at the U.S. Senior Women's Open. But what really astounded me was her distance control with her irons was as good as it ever was. And at the top of her game, she had the best distance control I'd ever seen. She would hit 85% of her greens, and everything she hit at Brooklawn was pin high, 15 feet pin high. And Brooklawn's a golf course, one of those great old Northeast courses where you can never be above the hole. And she really made sure she didn't leave herself any scary putts.
And this was the first time that she had won with her kids watching, which was also incredible, putting a little bit more pressure on her.
Yeah, I ran into her when she was arriving at the golf course on Sunday morning, and as she's walking into the clubhouse, she's walking with her 10-year-old son, Will, and taped to the front door of the clubhouse was hour-by-hour weather forecast for the day. And she stops and she says to Will, "Let's check out which direction the wind's going to be blowing today and plan our strategy. Come on, help me with this." And that showed two things. One, again, how prepared she is as a golfer, and two, how engaged she is with teaching her son Will that aspect of the game, the planning aspect of the game. And Will's 10 and he's just starting to play junior golf now, and it was very, very emotional to see her play in front of two children who are now, 10 and 12, 10 and 12 years old enough to appreciate what their mom's doing on the golf course.
Yeah, and how great was it for you? And I mean, I've watched LPGA for years, and you've covered it for years. How great was it for you to see some of the senior members and some of the greats from the past all be in the same tournament and all playing together and just bringing back old friendships?
Yeah, it's a very special week for me because most of these players are the players I started out covering 30 years ago. when they were young pups and I was younger. And the other thing that's amazing is on the Tuesday night they had the players' dinner. It was at the Country Club of Fairfield, and I was the MC for that dinner. And the number of players who came up to me afterwards and thanked me for being there.
Wow.
They really appreciate the attention that they get. And that's something that's really special. It really made me realize one of the things that I like about covering the women's game. These are players on the LPGA level playing for 1/5 the prize money of the PGA Tour, way less in endorsement money.
Right.
And they like the attention. They like when people write about them. And the better you know somebody, the better you can write about them. And they let you into their world, and they tell you what's going on. That's special.
Yeah, it is. And who surprised you the most at the tournament, Ron, with their play?
Got to be Dana Ebster. She's a teaching pro from California. She went to a qualifier, got into the qualifier, was an alternate, and got into the field because Kay Cockrell, the Golf Channel reporter, had to go to cover the Olympic golf in Japan. So Ebster gets into the field. She shoots 67 the first day to tie Annika for the lead, and she hung in there the whole week and ended up with a T10 finish, which qualifies her to get in next year. But she literally, the members at her club literally passed the hat to raise the money to pay for her expenses to go to this tournament. And that's what's cool about an Open. You see stories like that.
Yeah, you don't see those very often. Tell us about the new announcement that came up about the senior women's tournament that I think it's going to be at French Lick.
Yeah, there's a couple announcements that was there. One, they're rebranding the Legends Tour as the Legends of the LPGA.
Right.
And that's an example that the LPGA has taken over that tour. And this is one of the problems. There's the U.S. Senior Women's Open. There's the Senior LPGA Championship at French Lick. And there's not that many other opportunities for senior women golfers to compete.
Right.
The Legends Tour has some events. They're mostly sort of like pro-am kind of events. There's going to be one at the Ridge Club in Sandwich, Massachusetts, September 10th. 18-hole one-day team affair, and Annika's going to play in that again. Annika and Susie Whaley are going to be a two-person team in that. But what I like, it looks like the LPGA is realizing they need to put some of their resources, and they're in a much better position now than they were 10 years ago. But they got to figure out a way to give senior women golfers an opportunity to compete more.
Well, you've covered the LPGA for many, many years. What is one or two of the things that you've covered, and I know this is on the spot, that kind of stand out from your career covering the LPGA?
Well, probably the single most exciting day I've ever spent on a golf course was when Annika played the first round of the Colonial Invitational in Fort Worth, Texas, on the PGA Tour. I was fascinated that I couldn't for a long time figure out why she was taking that risk. It seemed like she had everything to lose, nothing to gain from it. I mean, if she played badly that day, it would hurt her reputation, hurt the reputation of the LPGA. And when she teed off that day, I honestly had no idea what to expect from her. And she went out and played she putted for birdie on every hole. And she ended up shooting 71. And if you'd have given Christy Kerr or Inbee Park Annika's ball position on the greens, they'd have probably shot 65 or 66. But she didn't have a good day with the putter, but she played phenomenal golf under enormous pressure. And that was pretty exciting. That whole 2003 year for Annika was a special year. She won two majors. The other two majors, she was one stroke out of first place. She completed the career Grand Slam at Royal Lytham St. Anne's. She led Europe to Solheim Cup victory in her native Sweden and was inducted in the World Golf Hall of Fame. And I was fortunate enough to be with her at all those places.
And when you started with the LPGA, it did not have the same kind of coverage that it has now. And I know there's been, a lot of talk about trying to get more coverage for the LPGA and not doing it on TV as reruns or as repeats or as recorded. It looks like they're trying to make it a little bit more important to have live events for the LPGA.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. They just negotiated a new TV contract. They signed it earlier this year. It goes into effect next year. And I'll be curious to see what that contract brings to the LPGA. I know it was a high priority for Mike Whan, the commissioner who just left the LPGA to go to the USGA. He wanted to get more network TV coverage for the tour on the weekends because, as good of a job as Golf Channel does covering it, when you're on Golf Channel, you're preaching to the choir. The way you grow the game is to reach those casual fans, and that's to be on network TV on the weekends. Things like Olympic golf. Olympic golf is a great way to expose the women's game to people who might not normally watch it. And I've always felt that the greatest critics of women's golf, both among the fans and among the media, are people who don't go to the events. Once you experience at the LPGA, you realize how talented these players are, and then you realize just sort of how fun they are to be around.
Yeah, I mean, I've played in some pro-ams with LPGA players, and I find them to be more engaging most of the time than some of the PGA Tour pro-ams that I've played in.
Almost without exception. And when there have been marketing studies done by Sports Business Journal and other organizations about consumer satisfaction in sports marketing, and LPGA pro-ams always rank, they get like a 99% rating. Yeah. The consumer satisfaction among people who play in LPGA pro-ams is almost unanimous because the players do engage, they ask you if you want tips. They ask you if you want them to help you line up your putts. And, they really do try to engage with the people in a way that doesn't always happen on the PGA Tour.
You are right. Ron, I know you got a tee time. I appreciate you taking the time to talk to us. Have a great day. And all the putts are good if you make it on the green in 2 or 3. It just doesn't matter.
Thanks for having me on. Always a pleasure. Look forward to talking to you down the road, my friend.
All right, Ron. Take care. God bless. Coming up next, Frank Carroll, who has tees that help you hit it farther. But first, Luke Donald and Keith Mitchell know that Mizuno golf clubs are made for performance and feel as they introduce their new ST series of drivers. Got a new one coming out in a couple of months, and that'll extend your long game. Their new irons, the JPX 921s and the MP20s, are built for feel with absolute precision and performance. Complete your bag with the new M-Craft putter. Check out everything at new clubs at MizunoGolf.com. That's MizunoGolf.com. Reach beyond.
Hi, this is Adam Shupak with Golf Week Magazine, and you're listening to the Back Nine Boys Golf Show.
And welcome back. I'm Rich Stiles. Glad you're with us. 4 more yards. How would we not want 4 more yards off the tee, 4 more yards off anything? And Frank Harrell says that his tees will help you do that. Good morning, Frank, and welcome to the Back Nine Boys Golf Show.
Good morning, Rich. Thank you.
All right, so tell us about these new tees. I mean, you sent me one. They're real long. They got a spring in them, and I kind of looked at. Yep, there it is. Tell us about those.
Well, this is the new bottle tee, and the bottle tee is specifically a training aid, so it's not to be used during regular play.
Right.
So the bottle tee is a training aid that is designed to basically allow you to learn to hit up on the golf ball. So by raising the golf ball up to about the size of a 12-ounce or 16-ounce water bottle, the only way to hit that golf ball is to come from the inside out and up through the swing. So it's a very simple device, and it allows the amateur golfer, even professional golfers use them as well, but it trains you to swing more around your body and through the ball on the upswing from the inside out, so that you can hit good ball flight, good draws, and you get further distance. You'd be surprised.
Do you think most people, most amateurs, I know the pros do, but most amateurs don't swing up on their drives?
Most amateurs don't swing up on their drives. Most amateurs hit a tee shot with a descending blow. And
right.
The proof of that is if people think that they don't do that, if you've ever hit a drive and you pick up the tee afterward and it's sheared vertically, it's not split in half, it's actually sheared from the cup down. It's sheared down like a tree would strip. That's because the golf ball actually hit the corner of that cup and broke the tee down. That is a descending swing.
All right, so where should the tee be if you're hitting the ball correctly and swinging up on it?
As far as height goes,
after you hit it, where should the tee be? Behind you or in front of you?
Well, if we're talking about the bottle tee, or we talk at any particular golf tee,
right.
Usually it's going to kick back and fly straight up in the air.
Okay.
If you use a tee like the 4 yards more, where it has an elastomer movement to it,
right,
it's going to kick backwards.
So how has the bottle tee been accepted? I know you've got it out. You're promoting it. It's a great item. How did you come up with the idea, and how has it been received?
The idea was originally from an assistant club professional at my golf course in Philadelphia, and we've actually been developing this product for some time, and we decided to bring it out into the market. And it's been accepted widely. There's a lot of people look. It's a 10-inch tee, so a lot of people look at it and they think it looks odd or strange to begin with.
It does.
But when you go to the range, it's not something where you have to strap something on or wear something under your shoulder and so forth. You just tee it up. You hit 6 or 7 tee shots using the bottle tee, and then you go back to your regular teeing it up, whatever height you like to tee the ball, and it just puts you into a confident swing path.
Well, let's talk about some of the research, Frank, that you did in order to do this. You said it took a couple of years, and then you came out with the product. You decided to introduce it. How long was the R&D on it?
It was surprisingly quite a while, because when you have this is molded in a proprietary plastic resin. We manufacture it ourselves in Philadelphia in our own plant, and it has a stainless steel spring in it. But there originally it didn't have an actual cup on the tip, which it does now. You used to have to put your own tee into the end of this product.
Okay.
So we wanted to eliminate that. And when you hit a part like this with the kind of club head speed that a lot of people do swing at, it's very difficult to make it durable. And we were able to finally do that. So we're confident that what people are getting in the marketplace is going to last them.
Yeah, and the spring obviously helps when you're trying to swing up and you may miss, but the spring helps with the durability.
No question. It helps with the durability, and it also allows the whole upper portion of the bottle tee to move through with the club head impact. And people who have been hitting golf balls off of water bottles for years. A lot of teaching professionals, they fill a water bottle with sand or a soda bottle, whatever it is, a plastic bottle, and then they put a tee in the cap, and then they tee the ball up and make their students hit from that elevated tee surface. And the bottle tee is just something that makes that much more simpler.
Is that how you came up with the name?
Right. Well, yeah, exactly how we came up with the name. The name was originally going to be the water bottle tee, but
I like the bottle tea better. I
Yeah.
think that was a big win for you. Give us your website so our listeners can go to it.
and so that would be bottletea.net.
Okay.
And if they wanted to see the rest of our products from Greenkeepers, they can go to www.gkspikes.com.
Well, that's what the other thing we want to talk about is your 4 More Yards. Tell us about that, and why do you think those are better than the other tees?
Well, the 4 yards more is proven in robotic testing and field testing to have the longest distance of any performance golf tee in the market. I'm sure many of your listeners are familiar with the 4 yards more. They're available in mostly all of your off-course specialty retail shops and big box retailers and Amazon and such. But what it is a flyer lie. So basically, you have the least resistance of any golf tee in the marketplace worldwide that allows the ball to have the lowest backspin off the tee. So when people are typically used to hitting a shot out of a very light rough and they notice that they hit the ball further than they expected to, that's a flyer lie. There's less backspin on the ball carries and travels further.
Okay.
And the 4 yards more is basically a flyer lie off the tee.
Which is acceptable. I mean, a lot of people want to do that, and they come in various sizes that I'm sure people know when they go to the stores, your golf shops and your big box stores. You have 2 or 3 different sizes.
There's actually 5 different sizes. Yes, and then because we did come out with one for the hybrid clubs a few years back, and they're available in variety packs. And we also have a package called the Players Pack, which gives you a bunch of everything at a reasonable cost. And they're 100% guaranteed for satisfaction. They have an enormous lifespan, and they've been very successful over the years. We're very proud of the 4 yards more line.
All right, what's in the future for Frank and your company as far as innovations? I know you probably don't want to talk exactly, but you've probably got things in the works for the rest of this year or next.
Well, no, I mean, I'd be happy to talk. We're actually involved with another group. We're making we're working with the fellows at Bloodline, working on the Veil putter. So this is a new putter that is a combination of steel, aluminum, and polymer. And we produce this putter head in the United States in our factory, and we've developed and designed it along with the fellows from Bloodline. And it has a tungsten-filled nylon face. It's really, as far as technology goes, it's the latest in putter head technology from a compound standpoint. And then it's also a stand-up putter, so it will allow you to walk behind the ball, and it'll allow you to line up your putts using the putter head itself. And we've had some success with it on tour already.
I know that.
And that
when will it be available?
It's available now. You can actually go to
okay.
bloodlinegolf.com and you can order them now. We've shipped over 1,000 of them already.
All right. So you are in the golf business. You've been in it for a while. You've been very successful. There was no PGA show this year. How did that affect, or did it affect your business?
It had some impact. That trade show is very important to us, me in particular. And obviously, it is coming back for this next season. So it'll be here in 22 in January. 21 was a disappointment, or 20 was a disappointment that it didn't happen. But even 19 was an average show because a lot of people from Southeast Asia and Australia and so on, they didn't come. They were already affected by the coronavirus, and we didn't even know that it existed at that time.
Right.
So it's been a couple of years, of disappointment with the industry at that show.
What do you think some of the changes might be for 2022 based on where we've come from the pandemic, from kind of being up on it and then coming down and now kind of getting back into the news on it?
Well, I think the trade show itself, the PGA Merchandise Show, I've seen that show now for 26 years. I've been involved in it, and I've seen its ups and downs. And I believe that, this year it may be, baby steps back into the success of that show. But I'm hoping it's faster than that. But, that show, I've seen the big companies, pull out of it and come back to it. And, it's very important to see your customers face to face. And, that trade show is just part.
It is. All right. Give us your websites again so our listeners can go to it, get 4 more yards, and be able to swing up with the Bottle T?
Okay, well, that would be just bottlet.net or gkspikes.com. They're all combined, so either one of those sites will take you right to the all the products.
Frank, I can't thank you enough for being with us. I love the background view that you've been able to share with us. I appreciate it, and good luck with the Bottle T and 4 more yards. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you very much, Rich.
Okay. Frank
Take care.
Carroll teeing it up with us, and appreciate him being with us on our show. Next up is going into Elite Minds. What do you think about when you play golf? What do you think about prior to hitting the ball? What do you think about when you hit a good shot? And more importantly, what do you think about when you hit a bad shot? We'll be back with more with Robert Price of Elite Minds on the Back Nine Boys Golf Show.
They say that what you're made of is
Hey, this is Bo Van Pelt from the PGA Tour, and you're listening to the Back Nine Boys.
And welcome back. I'm Rich Stiles. How many different things do you think about prior to your golf swing? My guess, it's probably not really a guess, but probably too many. Robert Price of Elite Mind works with golfers like you and me to think better on the course. Just to think better, course management is always helpful. Good morning, Robert, and welcome back to the show.
Good morning, Rich. How you doing? I'm so glad to be here.
I am so glad that you are, because a lot of golfers, they go take a lesson, they go out, they obviously are left with too many things to work on and can't figure out which one that they need to focus on more than the others. And they end up taking a lesson and having probably one of the worst days of golf.
Absolutely. I mean, one of the things that, when I get an opportunity to work with a player and their coach, is that's what we talk about. We really try to figure out or hone in on what's that one thing or two things that you really want them to be thinking about so that they can actually execute the changes that they're making with their golf swing or putting or chipping or whatever that might be while they're actually receiving the lesson. And oftentimes that's literally what allows a player to want to come back for more lessons. And so I always share that with golf pros, is that when we're actually working in concert, the likelihood of someone continuing with you for a longer period of time is even greater because they're starting to see more and more success right away.
Yeah, and a lot of golfers, especially amateur golfers, they want quicker success. They want the immediate success. They want to take the lesson and say, okay, I'm going to break 80 today.
There it is. So, we know that's impossible, right?
Yeah.
But
but many golfers don't know that's impossible.
That's right. I mean, a lot of times too, right? We try to marry those expectations with the reality. And, oftentimes, especially with golf, we already know this. I mean, I tell amateurs all the time is that if you are spending 1 hour to 4 hours a week just on your golf game, that's a considerable amount of time. But we know that professional golfers spend 45 to 60 hours a week to work on that same swing change that you're actually trying to accomplish.
Right.
And so we have to start understanding just the math, but more importantly, like kind of what our expectations will be after those lessons specifically. Absolutely.
All right. So they get in the car, they're going to the golf course. Their tee time is in 30 minutes. They're probably not going to stretch that much, but they have higher than they need to expectations of what they're going to do during their round. Whether it be, I'm going to shoot between this score and this score, or I'm going to hit a 250-yard drive that I've never hit before.
Yes. That's usually what happens.
Expectations need to be managed.
Absolutely. I mean, we have players here, playing right now at the Georgia Open, right? And so we've talked already this morning. We have weather delays. We already know these things are going to happen. And so,
right.
How do we maintain momentum? How do we, work on those smaller goals, those chunk goals, essentially is what I try to get them to do. So that way the process, and every person on the show, I'm sure, has heard that the process is what's important versus the result. But ultimately, it's just like with the puzzle. If we put one puzzle together, another piece together, then at the end, we will have the result that we're looking for. And so, really getting somebody to understand that and working with them around that is really crucial.
How important on a scale of 1 to 10 is having a consistent routine?
Right? 10.
Yeah. And how many golfers don't have a routine?
I would say probably about 80%. And what I mean by that is they may have a pre-shot routine for the driver, right, on the tee box.
Gotcha.
But they don't have that pre-shot routine in the fairway. They don't have that pre-shot routine over a chip shot or over their putts. And so we still have to consistently create that. And they may actually look a little bit different. But ultimately, you have to have some kind of readying mechanism for our brain to get ourselves ready to actually execute the task at hand. And so if we don't have that, we're already setting ourselves back a little bit.
Yeah, you need to have that click where all of a sudden that's when you get into your mode. You stop all these other thoughts. What is the thought that you would like them to have as they're standing over the ball?
It really does vary depending on the player or the level of the player. But ultimately, it's got to be on target. At the end of the day, we have to get people to be focused on the target at hand, whatever that is. And
Okay.
so that takes their mind off of them, some of those mechanics, and some of those swing thoughts that are not very effective. And so for me, if I can really get a player, even an amateur, all the way up to professional. I have one playing this weekend that was on your show, actually, Natalie Sherry, and we're
Yep.
just working on aggressive targeting, right? So whatever our target is, we want to go at that target aggressively, and so that's really, really key. And if we can do that, then we're going to find the success that we're looking for. We can actually measure our success and how our mental game is actually going.
All right. I think that's a great story. You listened to the show, you heard Nate and her story, and you contacted her, and now you're working with her. What are you going to do to try and help her to become better than she was from this point forward on the LPGA Tour and the Symetra Tour?
Great question. So hopefully, right, this is what we always say, but actually she played yesterday, and we're just working on process for her specifically. She was a great player. I mean, this young lady, as she shared, went to Wake
Right.
Forest University. So everybody on her team while she played in college has actually had an opportunity to be on the LPGA or Symetra Tour. So she's not lacking for talent. And so what we're trying to accomplish is, how do we actually, on the Symetra Tour, it's like the Corn Ferry or any of the lower tours, and even on the big tour sometimes for the most part, but it's about birdies. And we have to figure out a way to, I call it, shrink our target area. And so, many of us use different things at that level to figure out where I should put a ball on a green. The reality of this is we have to make those target areas really small. And so we're really working on imagery, visualization, the things that we say to ourselves to actually produce those types of shots, because that really does change a lot in the fairway. You're going to club up. You're probably going to hit shots to a tighter area. You're okay with missing, maybe short-sided, some of the things that we typically want to play away from when we're trying to be more aggressive at a target, not necessarily the flag, but a target on the green. We have to be prepared to do that. And it takes a lot of mental strength really to be able to accomplish something like that. It really changes your game a little bit.
Yeah, and how do you work with golfers? Take her through an executive summary of how you work with somebody that you haven't worked with before. Do you think? Well, let me ask you this before. Do you think most amateur golfers know what they need to work on?
I think innately, if they're really good, they might. Most people, I think they need to work on some level of confidence. That's usually the baseline. I could probably start any golfer there, and people would be like, for real? I mean, if you stayed up really late or woke up really early to watch Nelly Korda, I mean, she took a double bogey and chipped the ball to her feet twice. And you got to get into the I'm confident, I can do this mode, and they have to really reach and figure out how to do that. So the executive summary really for somebody that I'm working with is I actually use assessments. And so I use a 9 mental skills assessment tool. It really allows somebody to see exactly where they are on all of the mental skills. And then from there, we really can start figuring out what specific area for your mental game is most important for your success. And so like a parent or a player comes to me and say, well, I really want to work on X. And that's okay. And then we do the assessment and they were like, man, I didn't realize I have a little bit of anxiety, or my goals aren't as sharp as they should be. And so that obviously impacts some other part of your game. And so at the end of the day, I really start with an assessment. From that assessment, I'm able to start creating a program designed specifically for them to actually, work on their mental game and actually to make sure that they're mentally tough or mentally strong at the end of that process.
How long and where do you do the 9-step assessment? I mean, do you do it on the course? Do you do it on the range? Do you do it just talking to them?
Yeah, so there's actually an assessment on my website that is available for folks to take. And so they do that at home in the comforts of their home. It probably should take someone between 7 to 15 minutes tops. And at the end of that assessment, you'll receive a report literally about, where you need some work, areas of strength that you have, and how I go about accomplishing those things with you. So we do that literally. It's pen and paper or computer, pressing buttons, and you get your results right away. And then from there, we can take things onto the course or even via Zoom. A lot of times, obviously, in this era now, we work a lot remotely with folks. And so that's how we get started.
All right. How do you work with golfers to think less thoughts in their head prior to their swing? I mean, there are
Sure.
so many voices, even in some of the pros, and they will tell you,
Yeah.
I'm working on this, I'm trying to change this, and I'm doing this, but I keep going back to my old habits. So how do you talk with somebody, give them the confidence and the consistency to think less?
Yes. So great question, Rich. So one of the things that I try to help people understand is the difference between effective thinking and ineffective thinking. So effective thoughts are thoughts that are purposeful. They're thoughts that are productive. There's thoughts that have some hope based on them, right? So there's some
Okay.
possibility. So those are, I call it, and a lot of people in my field, we speak about a thinking box. So you're allowed to think before you get into your pre-shot routine, right? So you can kind of think these things, but these are the types of thoughts that you should have even in the thinking box. Is this purposeful? Is this going to actually allow me to do what it is that I need to do? Am I actually going to make sure that this thought is about the task at hand, ball flight, type of shot, club choice, those things, and making sure that I have a level of hope or understanding that I can actually do it. And so that is actually how I get people to think less. I actually get them to learn about their thinking, or I say, I'm going to teach you to think about your thinking so that way you don't have to think about it. And I think oftentimes, got it. Yeah. Think about your thinking so you don't have to think
your
about
thinking. Okay. All right. I'm
Yeah.
thinking about my thinking right now.
Right. And now you have embraced thinking, right? And so now when you actually step into hitting your shot, you don't have to worry about that anymore. Because oftentimes, really what's happening is we're fighting thoughts
Yes.
over the golf ball.
Yes.
And
Definitely.
so I
gotta
want
do
you
that.
to, so we're going to be thinking. You don't not think. So I want you to be thinking the right things. And that's through effective thinking. And I want you to make sure that you are having the right thoughts. Because, I tease people all the time is if you're on the 18th green putting for par to tie or win, and you're thinking about this wonderful peach Chick-fil-A milkshake, that is a really good thought. It's a
It
great
is,
thought.
but not at the right time.
Not at the right time. It's actually ineffective. It's a
Right.
good thought. Like people say all the time, you should think, that's a good thought. Think positive. That's a positive thought. I'm
Right.
hungry. I would love this milkshake. It is
Right.
118 degrees, but
Gotcha.
it's not effective
Right.
for the task at hand. And so
Right.
I try to get players specifically to think effectively. And how do we do that? And that's part of this process of first teaching them how to do that and what that actually means. And then we can actually select thoughts that are effective. And so oftentimes we do that.
Well, we want to talk about some more of that, but we got to take a commercial break. We're going to be back with Robert Price with Elite Minds out of Savannah. And we're going to talk more about all the things that he can do to help us all play better golf. But first, we're going to talk about CJ's Italian Restaurant. Check out their full menu at cjsitalianrestaurant.com. Check out their monthly specials created by the local elementary schools. You help the schools when you buy their pizzas, and part of the proceeds goes back. But if you've not had CJ's, and if you do, they are made and they are special for deep dish pizza. Their thin crust is also very good. They have a cauliflower crust. It's also good. CJ's, no question, the best pizza around. Check them out at cjsitalianrestaurant.com. We'll be right back.
Hello, this is Chris Sack, the men's golf coach at the University of Georgia, and you're listening to the Back Nine Boys Golf Show.
And welcome back. I'm Rich Stiles. All right, Robert, you and I kind of talked about this on the phone. I just was amazed. Xander Schauffele wins the gold at the Olympics and then flies from Tokyo to Lake Tahoe to play in, kind of a regular PGA Tour event. And if you were working with him, would you have recommended him to do this, or would you have recommended him to maybe take the rest of the week off?
Well, the interesting thing is, so actually he's playing at the St. Jude.
Right.
And so, the cool thing is that's a WGC event, so there's no cut. And you get an opportunity to make money after coming off a week of not making any, technically. And show off a gold medal. So I would, and I think it's just the timing, is one of those things too. Unfortunately for him, is we're getting ready to ride right into the, FedEx Cup. And so he really wants to make sure that you get to an event where there's no cut, there's no real pressure, and you have the opportunity to show off. And that's a good thing. And so why not? Right. And these guys play a lot of golf, and I think coming back to the States just to reacclimate yourself as quickly as you can for him was a good thing. He doesn't have any history of any injuries or anything like that would have prevented him from kind of adding to that workload a little bit. So, and that's always, that's what Dustin Johnson, why he particularly declined going this year. It's just that it did not fit into that schedule that these guys have. Had it been in 2020, he probably would have definitely showed up.
Right.
And so how things have worked out this year, sometimes those schedules or that amount of golf is not allowable.
Yeah. Coming back to do a no-cut tournament probably was better than coming back just to do a regular PGA tournament where there was a cut, because he would have missed the cut.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That would have been a waste of money.
Yeah, exactly. All right. We were talking about the right mind, and I want to talk about the amateurs, because we as amateurs, we beat ourselves up a lot.
Absolutely.
Nobody can be more critical of ourselves than ourselves. Why do we do that?
Man, there's probably 1,000 reasons, but the one thing that is science proven is that we all people, no matter golfers, basketball players, businessmen, we actually all have a negativity bias. And so this negativity bias, it's actually something that is helpful in many cases, but in sport or in performance specifically, it's not as helpful as it needs to be. I mean, we are very hard on ourselves. And part of that is we have a skewed view of actually who we are and or how we perform or how we play.
Right.
And so that in and of itself starts that negativity bias rolling, and we start to see things from that lens. And many of us, it's hard to stop. And that's kind of that heat of the moment thinking that we have that's not very good at all. And we have to really, really, really work through that in order to kind of break through, have a little bit more of a mindset of a champion that allows somebody to really create, okay, I see that. And then self-awareness very quickly, I'm going to do this other thing. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I just find sometimes, you get over a ball and you say, oh man, you got to swing your hips through. You got to, make sure you go back straight. You got to get through the ball. You got to try and hit it farther than you did the last time, because everybody else, especially if you're hitting fourth out of your foursome and everybody else is way out there, what's the first thing that comes into your mind? Man, I got to get out there with them.
Swinging harder.
I don't want to be the short guy.
That's right.
But I'm always the short guy. I've accepted the fact that I'm the short guy.
See, once you've accepted that, then now you can actually go back to the cart and grab a 3-wood.
Or an 8-iron off the tee. I know I'm really going to be short.
Right. So sometimes it's like and that happens a lot, even on tour, you'll see, I saw it last night, the girls are hitting 3-wood off of that first tee box, and you saw it all week with the guys. They're hitting hybrids, all kinds of things, just because the landing area is so short. But towards the end, when those metal girls started getting up there, they're all hitting driver. I'm hitting driver. Everybody's hitting it. We're all hitting it.
We got about 40 seconds left. Give us your website so our listeners can go to it, especially golfers. You do really, really want to work with somebody that is devoted to helping you and can help you. So give us your website.
Absolutely. It's EliteMindsLLC.com. So very simple site. It's www.elitemindsllc.com. On that website, you can actually join the Mindset of a Champion group that I have. It's a monthly group. You receive quite a bit of things in there, including monthly meditation and weekly text messaging and blogs and videos and articles that I do, and also that assessment. So again, it's www.elitemindsllc.com for your free assessment and opportunity just to learn a little bit more about how you can actually be mentally strong in your golf game specifically.
Just what I want to do, learn more about myself. Great. Robert, thank you so much for being with us. I appreciate your time, and good luck with Nate. She's just awesome.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Rich. Appreciate it.
Robert Price, Elite Minds. Go to his website, EliteMindsLLC.com. Find out more. I want to thank our other guests, Frank Carroll.